Visionaries, and Happy New Year! We are delighted to see each and every one of your beautiful and handsome faces here this evening. We are over the moon with a stellar program that's going to be very fun and very exciting. It's a new format for us, the Salon, followed by this incredible opportunity of a dinner prepared by these just off the charts fabulous female chefs. So it's a great way to start the new year. You heard community, giving. That's what we're all about. But Visionary Women is a membership organization. And what that means is that we're all part of this tribe. We're all part of the same team. So before we start the program, I want to share some news with you and make sure that you really know everything that we're doing and we're thinking, and get you involved and get you engaged as much as we can. So first of all, the news that we have is that we have two wonderful new members to our board of directors, Nadine Watt and Laura Fox, who have graciously accepted the position to serve in our board. And both of these very, very passionate, successful, thought-leading ladies have been working behind the scenes for the past 2 years, serving on a variety of committees, and they are the best of the best. And I would like to ask Nadine Watt to please stand so you know who she is and welcome her. And I'd also like to invite the rest of the board to please stand so you know who they are. The Honorable Lily Bossy, Thea Andrews, Nadine, you just met, Nina Kotich, who is serving as our secretary for the next 2-year term, Price Rana, Karen Murphy O'Brien, and Angela Nazarian, who is our CFO. And for those of you I have not met, I'm Shelley Reed, and I'm the president of Visionary Women. So, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about and share with you is that at the beginning of 2018, as a board, we set a goal to of $1 million for our cumulative giving for the past 3 years. And I'm very happy to let you know that we exceeded that goal by 30%. And we have given and will ultimately have given away very shortly the full amount of $1.3 million to a variety of initiatives and organizations that support women and girls. And I want you each to know that for those who are members, your footprint is on that giving, and that's what's really important. And please go to the website, check out where we're giving, how we're giving, because and also check out the videos that we're posting that demonstrate the impact that that giving is making, and be very, very proud, because we're very proud of you. And also in that, we started a giving tool called In Her Honor. We started it just before the Thanksgiving holiday. Our beneficiary is the Chrysalis Foundation downtown that helps women take steps to get out of the indignity of homelessness. And you probably have seen the emails. In fact, we're going to be sending another email push out for Valentine's Day. But we're very happy to let you know that of that, we have been able to give $25,000 that raised just from that giving online tool to the Chrysalis Foundation. So please keep it up and just send a special note to someone you care about or you love, and rather than a gift, help another lady in need. And then the next piece of business I want to tell you about is that on March 7th, on the International Day of the Women's celebration, this will be our 2nd year in a row conferring a Visionary Women Award. If you remember and you saw in the video, last year our honoree was Demi Moore. This year we have Academy Award winning, Golden Globe winning, Emmy winning Patricia Arquette. with her sister Rosanna Arquette, and both of these ladies are not only super, super talented, they've been on the forefront as progressive female leaders and female activists, and we are going to be celebrating sisterhood, because that's what we're all about in our tribe, is our sisterhood. So these are the perks of membership. We look forward to seeing you at Spago, and for more information, you'll see it all online and how it all works to be able to attend. So I would be remiss if I did not thank our exclusive media partner, the Wall Street Journal, and also Guess and Wally's of Beverly Hills, who are our sponsor this evening, who have been so very generous to us. And in particular, although he is not here, I do want to point out that Maurice Marciano has been a very, very generous and supportive patron of Visionary Women, and we are deeply grateful to him. He is the cat's meow. And then finally, to all of our many, many volunteers, this was a big thing for us to pull off tonight. It's new for us, but it's going to be fabulous, but it did take a village. So there's just too many people who worked on this. You all know who you are. Please know how very, very much we appreciate them. And then one last little piece of business that I do want to point out. Many of you that I talked to earlier know that Angela and I just got off a plane this afternoon, but we're all proud of our Visionary Woman co-founder, Angela Nazarian, and I was very fortunate to be able to introduce Angela last night in New York at Christie's, where she received the Visionary Award in Philanthropy from CSQ magazine. And we are very, very proud of our girl. Okay, so let's get to the program. And this program is about innovators. This is about women who do it all. This is about women who have broken that glass ceiling in a business that has been traditionally male-dominated. These are women who have figured out how to use the creative art and the business art to build their empires in the culinary world and to balance their life and do it and have a family. And these are the true visionaries. What can I say? It's my great pleasure to welcome to the stage Sally Camacho, Nancy Silverton, Suzanne Goyne, and Evan Kleinman, our wonderful moderator from KCRW.
Thank you.
Oh, our pleasure.
Hello. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming out to spend some time with us tonight. I'm not being bored and looking at my phone. These are my notes. So what I love about this panel is that we represent several generations in a business that's changed a lot during the time that all four of us have been in it. Nancy and I are contemporaries.
I might be older, by the way.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And then Suzanne came soon after, and then Sally represents a different world that a lot of us are trying to sort of grapple with in this business. Because everybody here does more than one thing. You know, these days, if you're a chef, it doesn't mean standing behind the burners in one restaurant or even two restaurants. It requires a really insane juggling act. I'm kind of happy I exited when I did. For those
but
of
not
you who
before you had like 4 restaurants.
yeah.
Before
So,
anybody else had 4 restaurants.
for those of you who don't know, I am the host of Good Food on KCRW, and I've been doing that for 22 years. And I also had a restaurant, Angeli, for almost 30 years, and a couple other Angelis. But I stepped away in 2012. So I thought it would be interesting to start by having each woman tell us a little bit about what their current project load is. what are your restaurants? What cities are they in? And what other things are you spending a ton of time with that is related to your restaurant, but means that you're not in them all the time? Let's start with you, Suzanne, since you're right here.
I'm closest. Well, I have 3 sit-down restaurants, regular restaurants, I call them. Luke, which is, we just celebrated our 20th anniversary. Thank you. AOC on 3rd Street, and Tavern in Brentwood. And then we also have a catering company called Luke Catering that my sister runs. We have a bakery called Larder Baking Company. And then we do the food for the Hollywood Bowl in the summertime. And I'm on a culinary panel. I'm one of the 10 chefs for Singapore Airlines for their international culinary panel. And in the end of the summer, we're going to be doing the food for the Proper Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. That'll be our first.
And how many children do you have?
I have 3 children, 11, 11, and 10, which is better than when they were like 2, 2, and 3, or whatever other, like all in diapers combination. So I have 3 kids.
And a husband.
And a husband.
Who's also in the business.
He also is in the business. He has the Hungry Cat in Hollywood. And yeah.
Yeah, just a few things. Yeah. Nancy, of the Mozaplex.
I pale in consideration.
Oh, please.
Next to Suzanne, who actually worked for me, and then she is an overachiever, you can tell. So, first thing she did when she left is, opened an empire. So thanks a lot, Suzanne. So I currently have 3 restaurants on the corner of Melrose and Highland: Pizzeria Mozza and Osteria Mozza in Kiesbacke. And then I have one other restaurant in Newport Beach, Pizzeria Mozza. I have a grandchild. I'm a grandmother.
Woo!
That's my biggest achievement this year. Or no, actually it was last year. So what am I doing now? Let's see. I'm finishing.
Don't you have another farther flung restaurant project?
Oh, we're not talking about that.
Okay, that's fine.
And then moving on, I'm finishing my 9th cookbook.
Oh my God.
From the foods from Kiesbacke. And because I don't want Suzanne to own the world, I am going to start 2 new projects. One I can't tell you, the other one I can. So the one I can't tell you is going to be also in a hotel.
This is the one you can't tell us?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm not going to tell you the name because it hasn't been announced,
Okay.
and then I'll get in trouble. So
Right. I think I just got in trouble, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just here. Just
What
put it on.
happens at the Beverly? Where are we?
Hills Hotel.
Beverly Hills Hotel stays at the Beverly Hills Hotel. But I'm not going to make the same mistake.
Right.
So I'm opening up an exciting project in a hotel, and it will. I have promised to be open by January of next year, and then hopefully sometime in this year, maybe like early summer, I'm doing a small little fast food concept. Fast food, not in the negative way, but quickly served food. How about that? In Culver City. And it's going to be in a tiny little food court kind of complex. So it's not like Grand Central Market or anything like that. It's much smaller.
It's that new food hall situation.
Yeah, it's called Citizen. Is that, and it's on Culver Boulevard. And I'm going to be opening a concept that's going to be called Pizzette. And Pizzette is just a fancy word for a small pizza. So it's going to be a small little takeaway. I kind of went that direction as opposed to something a little bit larger because there are so many offices that are there now and are to be built in that area, and so many people now take their lunch back to work. I felt like it was a better size for people to
How
eat
thoughtful of
during
you.
lunch. Thank you. However, I'm going to do something new with that concept, and I'm also going to be doing stuffed pizzettes, and not calzone, so they're not baked, but think Italy meets Israel as far as a stuffed sandwich. So it'll be the pizzette being baked, top cut off, things dropped in. And I just returned from Israel 2 days ago, and I finally figured out what makes a perfect sandwich, and the Israelis knew it far before the submarine sandwich came into existence. But it was really like eye-opening. So when you think of a sandwich like a horizontal sandwich, right? So everything is spread evenly, right? So whatever it is, the mustard, the mayonnaise, the cheese, the ham, and then you take a bite, but every single bite tastes the same. But when you drop your ingredients in and kind of spoon them in and tuck them into the corners, every single bite is like a different experience. So I'll leave you with that note.
So I'm just going to say, I have another question later on that touches a bit on this, but Nancy is an example of the obsessive. And so how there are different chef types that in which our personalities are perfect for pushing us forward and keeping us engaged, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Sally, tell us, because you come from a completely different place.
A little bit. I'm just, starting out actually, really, and it's kind of scratching the surface. And I'm a pastry chef, so that's my world. I actually trained in culinary, but pastry kind of drew me. So yeah, I've got two places that are, one is called Tess in West Hollywood that just opened. Thank you. And we've actually only been open for 7 months now. So, and then we actually just took over the space in Fred Siegel as our cafe. So we're Tess Cafe and Bakery.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so we're doing, and we just started it. So I mean, we've done a few communication blasts and things like that, but it's not readily known. But please come visit us. And so we're just starting those two projects right now, and talks and doing other things from the future for our group. We're the first in our group. It's called LA Restaurant Group, and then we see where it takes us. And we're always speaking with different individuals on different projects or whatnot. My end, of course, my be-all, end-all is, of course, to have my own pastry shop. The more I do tests, I don't know if I want to do it anymore. The more you own a business, or at least, partner in a business, it's, you see all the obstacles, and you're just like, oh my goodness, do I want to do this again? But I still love it every day, and one thing that I do love and hopefully get into again is competition. I love competition. I love doing them. I love being a part of them or coaching individuals that are going into competition.
Why?
As far as pastry.
Why do you love it so much? I'm a person who I have an extreme amount of empathy. Too much empathy to watch competition. I watch like this.
Yeah.
Kind of like it's a horror film.
Yeah.
And I'm just pray that people don't either humiliate themselves or get
Yes.
humiliated by someone else.
Yes.
So tell me what you love. Why did you love doing the one that you were in, the first competition, the Top Chef Suites?
Well, actually, Top Chef, that was actually the fourth competition. I've
Really?
been in. Yeah, so before I did Top Chef, I was on Top Chef Just Desserts years ago. And before I did that competition, I was on 3 others. So I competed in 2007. I was part of the first all-female team to ever compete in the world. For the National Pastry Team Championship. It used to be in Las Vegas. It went from Beaver Creek to Las Vegas, like at the Rio and things like that. And then it became a world competition. It's no longer anymore. It's a lot of things that go into a competition for pastry, especially so people and corporations find it's too difficult or too much to do, so we end up not doing them anymore. Hence also how Just Desserts didn't happen also. It was too difficult, not enough also follow. But for me, I love the craft. I grew up with Donald Russell, actually, who is an avid competitor in world pastry competition. So he went to the Coupe du Monde numerous times and has been involved with them probably ever since they started. So actually, it's been going on for 30 years. So he's been part of like 25 years of it. So I always used to help him and assist with him or see the stuff that he would do, and it's just amazing. It just boggled my mind, and just the things that you can do with pastry and what other countries are doing in pastry, and then you see what pastry they're doing as well as food too. So it's these world competitions are very, very just mind-blowing. And it's just, you get so much education just from them. Just, it's the same thing like traveling, you just bring back so much with you when you go back, to your home, and then you start making new things, and then you find more inspiration. It just, the world is endless, and you just continue to learn. And these world competitions really just, I don't know, they just feed the brain, and just everything. It goes from the food to the culture to the people, and it's just a beautiful sharing kind of aspect of it also. I also feel that competitions are kind of like our culinary runway. So it's like, you see what people are doing in all these countries, or what different chefs are doing, and then you figure out and you say, oh man, that's really cool, I'm gonna try and do that. And then it starts to become the norm, and so it just continues to grow our business or our industry. And then it just, with the internet, we didn't have those, back in the day when I was starting, internet and Instagram and Facebook and all that. You see different techniques, and so it's like the way that culinary really grows our industry, it's really rapid. And it's, you can see what people in Hong Kong are doing, what people in the Philippines are doing, people in Sweden and Norway and all those things. And it's just, it's really, really cool to see what everybody's doing, and it's just an open, just endless stuff.
I love that phrase, culinary runway. What point in your life, like what age were you when you realized that the intensity and the chaos of a professional kitchen really spoke to your soul? It was like your thing?
I don't know of a professional kitchen, but I love seeing my mom stress out in the kitchen. So, like watching her cook when I was little, I loved it. And that's essentially where I started, I guess, cooking.
You were her sous chef.
I was her prep cook, yes. Mm-hmm. I got to take apart chicken and chop onions and I just thought it was so cool. And just having like an end meal and just saying, this is how you get there. And just, adding a few ingredients really makes something taste so different. And it's really just, I could say maybe when I was 8, that's when I was really starting to cook with her and help her. And I think when I was 12, I just started watching television, and I grew up on PBS and watching Julia Child and Jacques Pepin. And I remember my very first cookbook, and I cried when I got it. It was paperback. I think it was Julia Child Cooks with like master chefs, and it was with like Charlie Palmer and Jacques Torres and things like that. And I remember Charlie Palmer's ganache that he fried, and it was a fried truffle. And I think I made that like so many times, and I messed it up so many times, but I thought it was amazing. And just learning things on your own, it's just, gosh, burning chocolate and making a mess and having to clean it up and doing all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, I think I want to do this. So I think I liked the differences of how food changed in anything, whether it was heat, flavor, acid, salt, just the different things that you do to it. You find out so much. It just always awed me when I was little. So it made me want to do more, messing up a lot too. So yeah.
Nancy, what's your origin story?
Do you know it?
But many of these people don't know it.
Well, I was a late bloomer, and so growing up, although I had a very special family and a very unique family, because we ate dinner every night together, which is very unusual these days, but I did every night, and my mother cooked, and I always wish she cooked more like Donna Drabble down the street, and I would often tell her, why can't you cook what Donna Drabble makes? But, so I really wasn't someone that really grew up in my mother's kitchen, and again, she loved to cook, but the problem was she wasn't making what all the women in the 60s were making that day, which is something out of in that era, something out of a box that they stirred and then they dumped, and I thought it was really great. My mother loved to cook, and she loved to buy the cookbooks from different countries and sort of experiment, and I just really didn't like to eat that way, but I like to sit at the table. So I can't say like I grew up in my mother's kitchen, or I can't say that I've always wanted to be a chef. And there was no TV then, I don't think.
No.
When did, right?
You had TV. You used to have TV cooking shows.
Well, I wasn't allowed to watch TV. But when was Julia Child's?
But college was where you really clicked.
So
Still pretty young.
But it wasn't because of food, is what I was getting at. It was because there was a really cute guy working in the kitchen. So I went up to him and I told him that, not only did I tell him that I really love to cook and I would love to cook in the kitchen also, but I told him, he was the vegetarian cook for my college dormitory, and I also told him I was a vegetarian, which I was because I turned to be a vegetarian that day, so I did. And I started cooking in the kitchen, and I absolutely loved it. And my first cookbook, by the way, I was in that cookbook that you got. So don't think of just the guys, Charlie Palmer.
No, I just like the fried truffle.
But no, my first cookbook was called Cooking Creatively with Natural Foods.
Oh my God.
And I still have it. But no, but I did. I just love that. I love that. There was something about, I think the two things that drew me to it. One was I loved using my hands. But the second thing that really drew me to loving it is people loving what I was making.
Yeah.
And that relationship between someone saying to you, I love what you're making, and you making that for them was just such a satisfying, right? And such a satisfying reason to want to do more. And I did.
And you, my
So
dear?
true.
Who's going?
I grew up in, my parents were both doctors. They were both really into, actually my dad was really into food, and when my parents met, my mom was from this like East Coast, very Puritan family that food was like a pot roast that was overcooked that you ate because you were hungry. And my mom made my dad a Spam roast with cloves and a pineapple on it. And my dad gave her Julia Child, like the next day they went on a date, and he gave her Julia Child art of French cooking. And so my mom like just got, cooked through that book like my whole childhood. So I feel like I grew up the same thing, like dinner on the dinner table.
Yep.
And we always had this thing, and it was funny because my dad would say, when we're talking about food, we always have to be honest. And in my head I was like, so
We're not on
we
it?
don't lie the rest of the time? Like, how does that work? So at the end of the meal, if my mom made something new, we would all say what we really thought. And it wasn't about like her effort, and we all appreciated her effort, but we were actually going to really judge the food for what the food was. I know. So my mom was a really capable, like Julia Child cookbook cook, but my dad was a more, like a really passionate cook. So he would cook on the weekends, and I was his sous chef. And I would sit in there and like chop bacon with scissors and like do the, stir these things with him. And then we would sit outside and eat these, like whatever time he finished, which was usually like 4 PM, and we'd eat these like family meals sitting outside of. And I just remember that it was the whole thing. It was the transformative idea of taking these ingredients and suddenly you've actually made something. And then my mom, actually, my parents loved to have dinner parties. So my mom had this idea where I would cook and my sister would be the waitress, and then she could be a guest at her own dinner party. So we started when I was probably like 10 or 11, like same thing. And my sister was the waitress in the dishwasher. And I would look through all my mom's, like she had all the
And it still
books from
stayed
all
that
over.
way.
Yeah, still stayed that way. But it's funny when you say that. It's like so much of it. It's like it was for me. The cooking, it's the whole package because I loved I loved the transforming thing. I loved how I felt being in the kitchen. I loved working with my hands. And then there was that moment where, I would go out to the dining room, and then my parents' friends would be all like, "This was so delicious," and then I actually still to this day, if I make a new dish, until somebody tells me it's delicious and they love it, I'm a little bit like, I don't know. So. That was kind of where I got hooked on food. And then in my senior year in high school, they gave us 2 weeks off to go do anything we wanted to do. And I knocked on the door at Ma Maison. And I went and worked there I just said, can I come work for free? And Patrick Turay actually answered the door. And he was like, yes, of course, come back. And then I came back and everyone was like, who? Like, what are you doing here? But they put me in the pastry kitchen actually because I was a 17-year-old girl. And I worked actually the whole summer. And that was, I think, where I got the added part about the mania and the madness and the waiters going back and forth and the French people and just like for me it's like the whole package was like too fun. I just loved it.
So the three of you have all had the experience of working with Wolfgang.
I was post Wolfgang.
You were post Wolfgang.
Oh.
You never worked with him. Okay, so
much for you.
the two of you. I would like you
And
to...
by the way, that's one of the few chefs that doesn't need a last name,
Yeah,
right?
last name, yeah. 3 words. Just use 3 words to describe either him or the experience of working with him.
Only 3?
Yeah, only 3. We'll go back and forth, okay?
Yeah.
For me, so much fun.
Definitely. I think he is definitely off the books, like just giving, something hot comes out of the oven. Here, eat it, taste it, to guests, as well as the kitchen too. But like when he's taking a tour, everything is always like, try this, try this. He's putting something in your mouth to try something. It's like, obviously they're his kitchens, but he really treats it like it's his home. Like, please try this, try this, try this. You don't like pear? Here, have a pear. Here, you're gonna like this pear because it's my pear. That's kind of what he's like. But he's definitely, definitely an innovator, I think. He definitely always reinvents himself almost, I think. And with every restaurant that he does, something different. Everybody knows spago for spago, cut for cut. Yeah.
It's a hard business. And it's a business that, to be successful, it can sometimes be quite a slog.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So I'm curious, how have each of you hit that wall and then changed something in your relationship to the work that allowed you to not just push through that wall, but bring yourself to another level? Because all of you have done that. No?
Yeah. I think it's a easy answer, or it's sort of a common answer maybe, but I feel like surrounding yourself with really great people and like bringing people up so that you can, like when we took on the Hollywood Bowl and I thought my head was going to explode, Javier, who's in the kitchen right now, actually prepping the meal that you're going to eat, he was the chef at Luke, and that was a moment where like I literally was not, like I could not sleep at night. And I was like, I don't understand how I'm going to do all this. And I always had my best thoughts in the shower, and I was in the shower, and I thought, okay, actually, I need somebody to help me, like, be me and do my job, and Javier was, like, the perfect person for it, so I just was like, I'm going to create a new role, I'm going to move him into that role, and then I'm going to move this person up, and then I'm going to, need to find somebody else, and just keep...
delegation.
Yeah, delegating, but I think also, for me, it's also, like, surrounding, it's like the support, like sometimes I don't even need him to... like he do some specific job sometimes. Maybe it's like talking about menu stuff, or maybe it's just tasting things with me and being that second set of taste buds, or sometimes it's literally just like having that partner there with you who helps you do your job and stay on track and have fun. It has to be somebody you like too. So I think it's, I think that's when, sometimes you just really need a vacation.
Yes, that too. Yeah, agreed.
And there's definitely that. I've definitely had those moments where I'm like, okay, I think I either need to like take some NyQuil and go to sleep, or I need to go on vacation. Like those are my options. But I think big picture, like actually trying to make it function, it's kind of relooking at the structure and seeing, like, where am I really struggling, and what can I do to help myself not struggle so much?
Sally?
Absolutely agree, definitely agree. And I think also surrounding yourself with people, great people around you at work as well as personally, I think, because, people say you are who you emulate, or you emulate who you're around. So, surrounding yourself with good people and positivity, and that really helps you get through each day, really. And one thing my husband always tells me when I get stressed out or upset, it's like, if I can't change the situation, I change my mindset. And how do I do that? What can I do? He helps me through so much. So it's also just, as well as him being a partner in my life, helps me get through anything and everything. A lot of stuff, whether it's work or personally, anything like that. Good partners, having good partners, people around you. Yeah.
Nancy, you've had challenges that some people would have just run the other way from, but you like broke through them and really saw the opportunity, right? But what makes you, like for me, for me, really it's cooking. So I can get too much in my head, and the challenges, the overwhelming, everything can just seem too much. But if I can cook and remind myself of why I'm there and what I love the best, the tactile nature of it, that buoys me along and gives my mind a rest, and then I can re-plug in. is for you your constant tinkering. Does that do that for you?
That does, but I'll tell you what does it for me now, is that because, because I realized that I can't spend the amount of hours that I spent, like when I opened La Brea Bakery. Now we're talking again, 1989, so I'm not saying I worked as hard as I work now than I did then, but when I was, those first few years, I felt like I had to do everything by myself, and I couldn't let go and let anyone else do it. And when I did, and I felt they didn't do it as well as I did, then I would get upset, and so the only other choice was to do it all myself. Well, that is not realistic. So you have to let go, and you have to let people, you have to just really accept the fact that it might not be every single time exactly the way you want it. But the best way to get it as close as you can is to be more encouraging to someone, or let them know how maybe if they approached it a little bit differently, maybe the result would lead a little better. So when I'm saying that it's really important when you own a restaurant or more than one restaurant, where you don't want to be there all the time, that you need to really, really mentor people. And the only way to mentor is to nurture. And I think that that's something that I really, really learned, is to nurture and be so proud and let them know when, and this is only from my perspective. I mean, you might think, that my food sucks, and so that's not the direction I want to go. But I mean, for me to get the results that I want, that I'm so proud of when the cooks, take the initiative and come to me and show me what they're working on. And I'm so proud when it's so close to how I would have done it myself, and that really makes me happy.
Between all three of you, you've touched so many aspects of the industry, from independent single restaurants to large-scale production for hotels, doing everything you do, plus doing all the media that goes along with everything these days. It isn't separate. Is there any part of the industry, or maybe even something else, that you keep a secret, a hidden, something you do while you're sleeping, that you haven't done yet that you really would love to do, or that you see maybe 10 years from now when you're in a different part of your career that you'd like to do?
Well, for me, I'll be 75 then, so.
Yeah, but you'll be
Nancy
awesome
version,
still.
Nancy version of 75, which
Yeah.
is different.
No, I don't mean like it's over, and I'm sure I'll be doing what I'm doing. But I think that
Writing more?
no. No, definitely not.
Do you ever
that.
feel like, I feel like there's a part of me that goes back and thinks, like, if, like, the first 3 years of Luke or something, like that moment when you had that one place, and that was the one place you went every day, and you knew I used to work, we were up 6 days a week, I worked 6 days. There was never, like, I got food poisoning, and I had to sleep in my car, like, be in my car until, like, somebody ordered something from the grill, and then I had to run in and, like, work there was nobody else to work for me, like, when it was in the beginning. But, like, to go back to, and maybe it's just romanticized because it's so different than how things are now. But there's a part of me that kind of like longs for, like, what if, I don't know, when my kids go to college, and, like, I don't know, do you have this little place and you just cook, and nobody sues you for whatever stupid thing they want to sue you for. And, like, I don't know, sort of like this fantasy life version of, I guess maybe it's just when you have everything so big and spread out, sometimes it's like the fantasy of everything being small, which maybe would be horrible, I don't know, but.
Like, sometimes I wish I was just one of those ladies who work in that alley in Body making orecchiette. And they just sit there with all their lady friends and their neighbors they don't like so much. and for a few hours every day, they're just sitting there making the pasta. And then they're done. They take their board inside, sell their little bags of pasta. It's never going to happen.
I actually wish I was. I have the like stay-at-home mom fantasy sometimes.
Really? Oh, that makes me feel so good.
After like 4 days, I'm kind of like, oh, okay. But like I know I couldn't do it for real, but I mean, I love cooking for my kids. I love helping them with their homework. I love being there at bedtime. I love all that. And that's, I think, the biggest like.
Do you think that they would be like, don't you have somewhere to go?
I don't know, probably.
Sally?
I think I'd probably kind of like to do the pasta thing, like you were talking about, like on a pastry. But I love to teach, so I know that that's going to be what I'm going to end up doing later. And I did that. I've taught in 2 different schools, pastry, but I'd love to teach in a casual setting and just, simple things, just starting off, basic stuff. No barriers, professional or beginner, whatever. Just, you say, let's have fun and we're going to make this. And that's what we make for the day. I'd love to do that. That would be a great day, actually. And then we clean it up, too, but yeah. It's always cleaning. There's so much cleaning.
I always think of the cleaning as like a metaphor. Yeah, I do that now. I teach at UCLA, and I teach food studies. I know some of you have no idea what that is, but it's basically looking at any number of disciplines through the lens of food. And I teach undergrads, so 18-year-olds. And really, I mean, for me right now, there's nothing better than giving them just a slightly tweaked point of view that they've never thought about through the lens of food that allows their world to open up in a different way. For me, it's just the best thing ever. I hope I get to continue doing that. And I'm like probably the only teacher at UCLA who brings food every night for the class. Because they have Yelp for teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, how bad a review can they give you if you feed them every night, So let's talk about, I've always thought that the kinds of people that choose to be in the kitchen is so interesting. And I guess I didn't really understand that I kind of have a problem with focus until sort of way late. I guess really until I no longer had the restaurants. I realized that the kind of weird, intermittent laser focus you have to have in the restaurant business, particularly on the cooking side, really lends itself to people who have attention deficit problems. And I'm just curious, have you noticed over the course of your careers with the people that you've hired and mentored and thrived, what sort of just personality templates do you think work well? Because I think that a lot of times, for example, I had a young cousin come stay with me for a year from Israel, and she was super dyslexic, but she loved pastry. And focusing on pastry and choosing to do that with her life completely turned her life around. For the first time in her life, she had success at something rather than feeling that she was constantly failing. What kind of, just for people who have kids out there or watching people struggle, what kind of attributes do you think make a really good cook? And not chef, we're talking about cook. Somebody's going to be there every day on the line, working with their hands, being happy, being productive.
I think definitely a team player. I mean, that's something that I think that's really important in a kitchen.
Can you create that, or do you think it just has to be innate?
Well, ideally innate, right? But you can also remind somebody that maybe they would be doing a little better if they were.
I think you can teach somebody who's on the cusp, but then if you have somebody who's just so on their own track, then they're not teaching. I have one of those right now. You can't teach them to do it. I don't know, certain people. And those are the ones my thing is like, well, you can be an amazing cook, but if you actually want to have a restaurant someday, like you have to be able to get other people to cook your food for you. And if you're not able to, if it's like everyone's below you and you don't want to train them and you don't want to show them and they're not good enough, you're going to have your one-man restaurant, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
You're gonna be very lonely.
be very lonely and probably, yeah.
And tired. And cleaning. More cleaning. By yourself.
All that cleaning.
I feel like when I think about the people who I know who've gone off and been successful, there actually isn't completely a type. Like I have a couple of sort of like very ethereal, passionate, a little bit flighty people who have gone on and succeeded, and then also the sort of super driven person that you kind of know is going to make it, and then they're the ones that you're kind of like, I really wouldn't have picked that person. And sometimes it's a matter of like who they partner up with, or they actually one is like they happen to have access to the financial, somebody who's going to like invest in them and they can make it happen. And I don't know that I see a pattern of when I think there's people I can see in the kitchen and go like that person's going to succeed, but when I actually look at what's really happened, I think some of them surprise you. And some people who I kind of thought were so, like have the sort of like the passionate, dreamy type that you think maybe can't get it together to have a business, but get it together to have a business. So I think my answer is that's a bad answer. I think it was like, but not a template. I think not a template. I don't see a
Interesting.
template with all of them.
I think now might be a good time to ask for questions from the audience. So if any of you have something you would like to ask, none of us will disclose our weights.
I'll give you a question since you're right here. Okay, hi. Evan, you didn't tell us how you got into culinary. And I know, not everyone knows. And the other thing, I don't know which one of you to ask, but so many young people want to be you. They want to be all of you. And would you tell them to go to culinary school? Expensive.
That's a very good question.
So which of us went to culinary school?
Well, but not, I'm halfway. Well, only because did you go to the culinary?
I went to culinary.
So that's
yes.
a full 2-year.
Yes. I did half the pastry also. I went back and I did half the pastry, yeah.
And I went to the Cordon Bleu in London, but it was like a 3-month class. And then I went back to Paris and took some classes in pastry and again, bread. So it wasn't like an intensive culinary. When I went to the Cordon Bleu, I didn't even know that there was a culinary school in the United States that was that, detached. But the Culinary Institute has been around for how long?
Oh, going on, I think, 70 years.
Yeah, I would say that it's a profession in which, however you come to it, you're constantly learning. That's like the best part of the profession.
And I think that like when someone comes in and they have been to culinary school and someone comes in and has a good resume because they had a good experience, one I don't rate higher than
I take
the
this
other.
one.
The one that didn't go to culinary school?
No,
Because
I
they
did.
tell you at school this is how we learn to do it?
You don't, just because I feel like that. I think when people ask me what they should do, I always say, and hope nobody here owns a culinary school. I always say that you like find a restaurant that you love,
Yeah.
and go try to work there for free, and then try to get a job there. And
That's
I think
what I did.
I think you're not
Well,
going
first of all, you can't hire people for free
Well, now you
anymore.
can't. Yeah, see, it's one of the many things you can't do anymore,
Yeah,
right?
so you can't do that, and which is
But that's how-
unfortunate.
was
That's
that your
all-
first job?
That was my first
That was my
job.
first job.
I knocked on a door of a restaurant that I thought was great, and I said, I want to cook. Can I work here for free? But you can't do that anymore, and that's a shame.
It is
I
a
did
shame.
that.
It is a
I
shame.
knocked on a door and I said, I know how to make this food better than anybody working for you.
Whoa, you did?
Yeah, I can't even understand that I
don't you
said that.
remember when Evan? Don't you
Manja,
remember when Evan?
manja.
No, I was going to say, don't you remember when Evan knocked on the door at Luke and said, "I can cook do anything better than you"?
And I
Manja, yeah.
said, yeah, I'll work for you
Wow.
for 2 weeks for free, and then you could pay me. And like in 6 weeks, I was running the kitchen. But this was after I got a BA and an MBA. So, my mother would come sit in that restaurant and cry watching me.
No, but just one thing that I would say, and I used to always say that about culinary schools, but and it is, and I'm not going to get into the whole laws that are, some laws are great and some are really silly, like you can't work somewhere for free. Not only can you not work somewhere for free, you can't work in a restaurant over the 8 hours that you're allowed to work. So you can't say like, wow, I really want to learn some pastries.
Yeah.
Can I work in the pastry department for free? Even if you're working there, you can't do that. You can only work the time because someone else is going to sue you because they worked there 10 hours. But what I was going to say is that, so what can happen when you come to work at a restaurant is that there's a lot of the basics that you may never learn. And that's something you do get at a cooking school.
Yeah.
So I remember
ended up
even
having to learn from a sous chef I didn't like very much.
Yeah,
right. So like if you never
I had Jacques
have to,
Pepin, La Technique, and I would like read it before I'd go to work the first day, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Find like the
Yeah.
nicest person on the staff, and then ask them all the questions that you don't know. Because
Right.
for me, I feel like culinary school. So take butchering a chicken, for example. Like in your butchering class, you're going to butcher like 2 chickens.
Yeah.
Right, and then
You won't get it.
You're not
You won't
gonna
remember.
It's not until you go
Yeah.
somewhere and you butcher
Yes.
like
3
100
cases
chickens.
of chicken.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. That's when you.
but
actually
at
learn
least
it.
if you go to culinary school, you know that where a chicken comes from or something. No, because if you're on the on the pantry station,
Right.
you may never learn how to butcher a
Right,
chicken
now.
if you're in a restaurant.
Yeah,
now,
now.
yeah. So that's
I think we have another question over there.
Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, do you enjoy eating out?
oh
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Because I don't have to
Do we enjoy
clean.
eating out? You have to clean.
yeah. Someone else cleans for you.
You don't have to clean.
I love
yes,
eating
yes.
out. I mean, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
It's relaxing.
it's also why we, I don't know,
No, but it's
Yeah.
it's why you got
inspirational.
into it, right?
Yeah,
It's because
it's
you love
yeah.
food
Yes.
and
I've been cooking. I'm from Morocco, so we women cook. And so I've been cooking for 38 years, almost every day, almost every night. And it's hard for me to go to enjoy the food outside. And so do you have the same feeling sometimes? Do you feel the same?
Is it
No.
because when you go eat outside, it's not as satisfying an experience as your own food?
It's because the mix of too many ingredients that I'm not aware of, I don't know them, so I have a hard time to
I just have to say that I long to go to a restaurant, order a plate of food, and eat the entire plate of food by myself,
right.
and have maybe more than 4 bites of one particular part of that plate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
I love the going out to eat. I love
Wait.
I love the actual, even if the food is not, even if I go someplace and I'm disappointed by the food, I actually just love that. I love being out. I love looking at all the tables. I love being in a different space. I love
Right.
talking to whoever
Yeah.
I'm with. I like drinking a glass of wine once in a while. But I also, I mean, when the food's great, it's better. But I love going out to eat.
Okay, one more question here. I know the culinary skills is something that, sometimes I feel like you're born with, naturally knowing how to mix the ingredients. But successful restaurant is not, unfortunately, it's not necessarily all about the chef. What can you tell us about your experience about management, and have you managed your place, or what can you tell us about management? Just because I have a son who is in that business, but he knows nothing about, well, actually, he loves cooking. But the restaurants he's made successful was because of his skills of drawing people. What can you tell us about your experience as far as management of the places that you've started? Have you had experiences that lack of management didn't fulfill you as much? And what can you share with us there?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Part of the food is part of a restaurant, and for me it's the soul of the restaurant. But if it's not poorly managed, or you don't have a great front of the house, or you don't know how to run a business, it doesn't matter. It's
Right.
over. So I'm very lucky. I have a business partner who's my partner in everything that we do, and we kind of divide. She's the back of the house. She's the front of the house. I'm the back of the house. So she, oversees the servers and the service, but also the business aspects. But actually, in reality, that's how we kind of started. But now we actually do the business part, a lot of it together, because so much of it is moment to moment. It's managing everything. So managing the labor costs, managing the food costs, all of that is a key part of what we do. And it's part of, that actually, not only am I mentoring people about cooking, but you're teaching, constantly keep teaching and training people about that, because our livelihood and the health of the restaurant is in their hands. So it's absolutely a big part of it. And I think I'm pretty sure we probably all three have good management skills, like in terms, like having people skill, or four of us, sorry.
No, that's okay. I no longer have a restaurant. So you could just say the three of you, yes.
No, but being able to know how to talk to, like when you talk about when you're mentoring somebody, that you're not beating people down, that you're bringing people up, but you're also having enough of a firm hand that you're not letting things go on that shouldn't be going on, and you also find a way to correct that in the moment while it's happening, and having your eyes always open. But as we talk about times changing, I mean, when we opened Luke, I couldn't have told you what the food cost was. I couldn't have told you what the labor cost was. All I knew was, like, at the end of the week, Carolyn would get on her calculator and go she's like, oh my God, we made money. It's like, we didn't know how, but we made money. And I mean, part of it was that our rent was $5,000 a month instead of $35,000 a month. But everything is harder and harder now. Minimum wage makes things harder. All the taxes and the liability insurance and the lawsuits
and the cleaning
And the cleaning, more cleaning.
But I mean, restaurants are they're very expensive to run, and it's very hard to be profitable. So that is obviously a key. The cooking's the fun part. That's key.
Hi, I have a question over here.
Over there.
There's been a lot of attention this last year of sexism in the restaurant business. I'm wondering if you felt that. If you don't want to speak personally, one issue I wanted to ask you about is, I know Alice Waters, she had her $300 egg spoon, and there's a big to-do about a lot of criticism about that. Was that sexism?
Did you say the egg spoon?
The egg spoon.
Oh, that's so funny. I just learned about that egg spoon.
Yeah, so the egg spoon, or your personal experience. Have you felt it? Is there sexism? Is it overblown? Is it, or is it there? Is it real?
I'm just curious, what does the egg spoon have
That it
to
was
do
So the
with
super
story-
elitist.
So that's elitist.
Yeah.
So she had I guess she did a cooking show with a $300 spoon, cooking an egg in the hearth. And,
Right.
People were saying, oh my God, she has a $300 spoon. That's so crazy. That's so outrageous. And some people are saying that's elitist. Some people said, no, it's sexist. How come you never criticized a guy with his gadgets?
Right, okay, I see.
Is there validity to that? Or in your own experience, have you
I
faced
criticize men all the
sexism?
time, so I don't know. If they're cooking with something that I don't think, I would tell them. But I mean, hey, she's Alice Waters. She can cook whatever she wants to cook.
I would say back in the day, and you should talk backer in the day, but I think it used backer in the day.
She went to Brown, by the way, so that's what school does for you.
Back in the day, further back in the day. But I think that it definitely was a male. Obviously we all know, completely male-dominated, and I think especially in earlier places that I worked, and a couple of French restaurants, definitely. And this is probably wrong, the way that I dealt with it, but I dealt with it by ignoring it and just
giggling.
And maybe just like brushing it off.
Yeah.
And then but there was an aspect where you felt like you had to be stronger, not show that you were flustered, and then if you had to over deliver. So if you did the job twice as well or 1.5 times as well as the guy next to you, you could kind of prove yourself. But there definitely was a part. I remember actually I worked at Olive's in Boston, Todd English's restaurant, and when I started there, this is a very typical Todd, I was hired to be a sous chef, but Todd was out of town and hadn't told anybody. So when I showed up, they thought I was an intern from the CIA. And I didn't say anything, and they put me on this pasta station to learn, with somebody, and I remember it was one other woman in the kitchen, and she was an intern also. And I remember I went into the walk-in to get something, and she followed me, and she said, you have to get out of this restaurant now. These guys are such... These guys are such assholes. They're so sexist. They're horrible. They will make you cry. And I know, which I actually should have felt bad. And actually what I thought was, they will make... what are you talking about? Why would you let them make you cry? But really, they shouldn't have made her cry. That was probably, but I think I was just on such a I don't know. For me, my reaction when she said it to me was like, "That's crazy that you're going to let these guys make you cry." And but she left, and then I just was. The beginning, I kind of just pretended like it wasn't happening or joked back at them, and then you kind of become like one of the guys, and then, and which is again probably wrong, like when you hear that now, but it was kind of how I. That was how
That's
I.
what
That
everybody
was how I
did.
dealt with it then,
That's what
right?
everybody did. And I also think that there was something about restaurant culture then, sort of the pirate ship kind
Yeah,
of
totally.
restaurant culture thing that was attracted to some of us who I couldn't put on nylons and go
Right.
to an office. I
Yeah.
just couldn't do it. So I would just rather be in that kind of rough environment.
Kooky, like right,
Kooky,
like-
crazy,
Yeah.
with all these weird personalities, and just be there and weave my way through it. But my response was just to open my own place as soon as possible, so that I was the crazy person running the ship,
Right.
and people had to weave their way around me. But yeah. Yes.
My whole world is fashion and food, and I've been to all your restaurants, and I'm curious, what is your own favorite foods to eat, chefs?
Our own favorite foods to make or to eat?
Eat.
Wow, that's a long list. Right?
No, for me, it's very simple.
I love delicious food. That's one
Yeah,
thing.
I love delicious food, but I love delicious simple food. I tend
Yeah.
to like simple food much more
Yeah.
than complicated food, and I don't like a lot of complicated food in little bits all in a row. i.e., a tasting menu. Kill me now. I love tortillas and beans and a chile. I'm just totally.
So you're.
But then I also love a giant plate of Persian rice with a delicious, with a delicious stew, or I love like the most perfect plate of pasta, or.
I love eggs. Eggs make
I love
everything
eggs.
better.
Yeah, eggs are great. Soups, broth,
love soups.
brothy things with lots of soury flavors in them.
Yeah, so flavorful food, identifiable food,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I think like vegetables and greens and all that stuff too.
I love
I feel like when you go,
salad things, yeah.
certain places when you go and you're traveling and you're eating in restaurants a lot, and it's like, where is after a couple days of it, you're like,
Where's the
Where's the
toast? and
crunch?
yeah, where's the like broccoli or arugula or
Yeah.
like something like to balance.
Yeah.
But I think it's true. If you ate that all the time, then I'd be like, where's the?
I remember once Susanna and I
Steak.
had a conversation about, food you eat on the line, not even family food that you eat together after, but the things in bowls that all chefs tend to do when they get hungry, just go down and
I
you
did that on
talked-
the way here actually.
That's called a buffet.
Yeah, and you talked, but a weird buffet.
That's a weird buffet.
And so we both talked about just eating kale forever, like braised kale that was braised
Yeah.
for like an hour. Yeah, forever. Yeah,
Food kale.
so good.
Yeah, that's so good.
Okay, we have 2 more questions, and here you are first, and then you'll close out.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. This is a twofold question. You can choose which one you want to answer or both. But one of my first jobs was when I was underage and 15, working at a really great restaurant in Lenox, Massachusetts. I didn't even know how to open a bottle of wine. I did it between my legs. It was expensive. Thank God the table was so sweet, taught me how to do it. But the joy of that was learning how to work, like you both all have said, in the front and the back of the house. It's like an army. It's like all the best people working together to create this beautiful play. And since then, I don't work in restaurants anymore, but I love cooking, and that's just translated. I'm a producer. I work in film. I worked on film sets, long days, the whole thing. So my first question is, how have you found, or maybe you're finding to find self-care within such a crazy, intense business? And the second is, when have you, or if you have found that you made it?
Self-care, I still have not figured out. Yeah.
Why does self-care mean like
Is that massages?
oh,
Or wine, or
oh.
I'm a producer, but I also became a holistic health coach to bring that world into, like, it wasn't because I wanted to coach people, it's like kind of find that when you work in a crazy industry. So I mean, like, whatever that means to you, it could be like smoking a joint, or it could mean like going to do yoga. Like, I don't know, whatever you guys do to take away, to decompress from like working nights and crazy hours.
Smoking a joint is good. Which usually leads to midnight baking.
And then you're learning.
And the whole, or not even, it's just, I was 18 and then now I'm 35, I have a kid, and it's just, it's like, I found finding my rhythm, but it's like, it's important.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
What do you do to relax?
Well, I start every morning with a walk with weights.
I've seen you.
You have? Am I crazy? I have. For an hour. So that's like really, really therapeutic. And that's where you solve your issues
in the shower.
I solve mine on that walk. And so that's really important to me. And when I don't take it, I just don't feel right. So,
Sally?
I like massages, so I do that. Yes, I love to get massaged. And, you're always aching and you're always on your legs, and they always tell you how bad your legs and your feet are. So you're on your legs too much. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. Keep going. But I mean, the same thing also with relaxing, and it goes into actually the food that I like to eat. I love great sushi and simple sushi, just the Eromai style, and also a good simple pizza. Pizza and sushi, and a massage, and some champagne, a bottle. Yes.
Well,
I gotta work on it.
I like to bring the question back to sexism, because it's very easy to talk about banking and many other industries that were male-dominated, but one thing that we all believe that is our domain is cooking, in the sense that all of our children enjoyed cooking, are cooking, and they, before I raise the question, I'd like to ask the question from the audience. How many of you think that you have been a good cook for your family? Raise your hand. All right, so we have a lot of good potential of chefs out there. So my question to you chefs are that when did you make the transition between being a cook and being a chef? And that was my question.
See, I
don't
part
think
of
I
me,
ever made that.
part of me hates the word chef in modern parlance, because you hear people, ever since Food TV happened, the chef became this glorified thing, and it was very bro-y attached. And for me, what I love best are cooks. I mean, I think of myself as a cook.
I think of myself as a cook.
And I think, like women who have cooked for their family for 30 years, I think that you are a goddess. I think there's an act of simple heroism in the act of doing that practice every day. It's almost like a Zen practice. It doesn't matter how you feel, what ingredients you have to get up, you have to do it, you have to give it to them. You want them to have pleasure, but it doesn't matter. You have to do it, and you do it day after day after day after day. And in the professional kitchen, those are the cooks. Those are the ones that are there. They're the backbone, the spine. And the journeyman workers who have who are often called unskilled, which makes me insane. So many of the people who work for chefs are tremendously skilled. Just the fact that they're willing to do these same jobs for 10 years, 20 years, without the recognition, to me, is just extraordinary. So I think you find out you're a chef when you come home and you need that joint.
I think the goal is to be able to be, at least for me, is like to be both.
Right.
Is that you're to be a cook, but the moment when you're going on being a cook and then you become a chef really is when you're in charge of a kitchen.
Yeah.
Is when, so it's more of a, like you're the sous chef, and then
you're the cheese.
When the buck stops with you, that's when you're the chef. It actually drives me crazy that like the kids these days when they, the thing is they all call each other chef.
Yes.
which makes, there's a certain point where like I start to lose my mind. I'm like, I don't know who you guys are even talking to anymore.
Yeah.
Like, like the word means chief. It's like the person in charge. So there can't be like 5. Okay, chef, you got that? Yeah, chef, right over here. Okay, come on, chef. Next chef, here comes chef. I'm like, who are you guys talking to? It's a thing, and it is like
very true.
It's like a bro. It's like a
thing.
younger
Yes.
generation thing
They
because they're so
are.
excited about that word.
Yes.
So they just want to call it. It's like a sign
And
of
yes,
respect.
chef. It's
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
Evan, call me Evan.
I know. Or sometimes they do ma'am. Then they go, okay, ma'am. I'm like, okay, go back to chef.
Yeah.
Like, my ranking, call me Suzanne, chef, and then ma'am is the.
But what do you say when you meet somebody new and they say, "What do you do?" What do you
I say I'm a chef.
Really? See, I don't. I say I own restaurants or something.
I say I'm the dishwasher.
She's a cleaner. She's a head cleaner.
That might be the best line to end on.
What a great line to end on. Ladies, you have given us a deep dive. This has been a wonderful deep dive into a real opportunity to get to know about you, to know the challenges, what it's like. It's been absolutely delightful and a real joy for all of us here in the room to get to know you. And Evan, thank you so much. It was masterly because I think we all feel like we know each one of you a tiny bit. And I think the note to conclude is that power women, power chefs, power restaurateurs, and powerful change agents who, don't forget, put California cuisine on the map. And we are very proud to have had you here at Visionary Women. Thank you so much.